Hello everyone, this is Shiny Noctowls, and tonight I'm gonna do a video that I don't normally do, but I figure it's important to do, if only because, since I see myself as Rainbow native Japanese American, or as my Uncle Herman, Uncle Cherokee Japanese Herman calls me, Celtic healer, I feel like it's important to do this video. So, um, it's been on my mind for a while, and I usually don't. Again, I don't usually don't do these kind of videos of kind of giving my perspective on the situations of other people in other countries generally. Um, but I think it's important because I think of this person known as Johnny Somali. I think his other name is Ramsey Ishmael Khalif. The thing about it is for me is that you see, I'm gonna try to see how I can break it down into words that kind of makes sense. So Johnny, he doesn't understand. Well, my Uncle Herman would say he doesn't understand DNA because if you look at, oops, my bad, not that, not, if you look at kind of the migration of the natives or some of the native Japanese Americans or some of the Native Americans who were really connected to the Japanese, going back thousands of years ago or even tens of thousands of years ago. I think Johnny, when he goes to Korea or when he goes to Japan, I think he has this idea. He's talking to um, people who are um, somehow have no affiliation to the Americas. But the reality is, um, at least in my case, when I look at my ancestry, my native Japanese American ancestry, which I kind of mentioned in my previous video, um, it is part of who I am. Now I know some natives feel more of a connection to Polynesia, or even some to like the Middle East and other areas. But for me, I know that some of the East Asians in particular, like some of the Japanese, and I guess that also included to an extent some of the Koreans as well, because if you think about, um, some of the first inhabitants of those two regions, you think of the Jomon, but you also think of the maternal haplogroup D4, which was connected to both the Jomon and the Yayoi. So like even though the fathers may have started out different at first, the mothers were really connected since the very beginning, at least in some way. I think the thing is that uh, Johnny, um, he's kind of stuck in this loop. It reminds me a lot of Izanami from Naruto, where Kabuto thought he was like a perfect being, and you know, and he was also very envious of Itachi as well. And in some ways, when I think of Johnny in Japan and Korea, I'm not saying necessarily he's envious of South Koreans or Japanese, but I think the way he channels his, you know, I guess his, I don't know if you can call it anger, but like when he plays like the monkey noises in the subways, or he plays the national anthem of China and North Korea, or when he talks about dropping the bomb again on Japan or starting another war with South Korea. I think he uh, has this facade of saying, I'm American, I can do whatever I want. But the thing is, I myself, for example, um, I when I look at my ancestry, I see myself as, well, of course, I see myself as Rainbow Japanese. Um, and what does that mean, Rainbow Japanese? So, you have Hafu, which is half Japanese, half another ethnicity. You have, I guess if someone's 100% Japanese, they're 100% Japanese. But a Rainbow Japanese person is someone who's, even more mixed, even more mixed than just, one, being half Japanese or half another thing. I think for me, it's, you know, if I look at the percentage of Japanese ancestry I have that comes from my native Japanese American ancestry, it's like 1/8 if you kind of dive deep into the East Asian portion. Um, but I think um, you see, he calls himself American, but the way I look at myself is I know I have this native Japanese American ancestry connected to me, but I know I'm also predominantly of European ancestry, or also, as Uncle Cherokee Japanese Herman would call me, Celtic healer. And actually, also, for those who don't know, the part of the ancestry I have, the part of the native Japanese American ancestry I have that isn't East Asian connected to Japanese, would actually be connected to ancient North Eurasians, which were connected to the Ket Siberians. And some people say that the Ket Siberians actually contributed ancestry to the Celts and to the Basque long ago. So they weren't just necessarily just East Asian, but they also had that ancient North Eurasian ancestry, which is really Paleo-Siberian, and you can find it. I think in Europe the highest frequency currently is in Norway. You can find it in the Americas. You can find it in, I guess, India is another location. You can find it in many regions. Ancestry connected to Paleo-Siberians, but really it was said that they really also contributed to the Celts and to the Basque, and so maybe that's why, and maybe even Belbeek potentially. I'm not sure about that, but there might be a reason why there are like certain words like in Pacific Northwest Tlingit, like Yale, which is the word for raven in Tlingit. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. Um, sounds very similar to scale in Irish, which is means tail, or what's your scale, what's your tail. Um, and so why is this so important? Why is this so important to discuss? Well, it's because the thing is that um, Johnny, he's indeed an American citizen, like just how I am as well. And I think citizenship, the idea of citizenship originally originated in ancient Greece, I believe. And I also have connections going back to the Mycenaean Greeks and the Trojans as well. Let me just make sure I'm correct on that origin. I think it's Greece. Um, yes, ancient Greece, yes. Yeah, non-kinship based. Okay. Yeah, expanded by the Romans, yeah. Okay. So, okay, so how can I further break this down? Okay. So, let me see. Let me just close this out. Okay. Okay, so the thing is we have to understand, who are the um, original people of these lands? Where did they come from? The native, whether native Japanese Americans or other Native Americans connected to other lineages that have lived here in the Americas or Turtle Island or Abiyala, however you want to call it, who have been living here for thousands or tens of thousands of years. Where did some of their origins come from? Well, for me, at least, when I look at my dad's ancestry from his maternal line from um, his mother and his grandmother, it seems they came really from Northeast Asia. Um, the reason why I refer to myself more so as like Rainbow Japanese versus like Rainbow Korean or Rainbow Chinese is because if you look at my DNA, the closest East Asian group I am out of the three is the Japanese, and that might be maybe because I might also have some Jomon ancestry, some of the original people of Japan who were there since the Ice Age, and maybe even some Yayoi and some other ancestry. And I also connect a lot with Japanese culture as well, or media, particularly through the works of art like anime and games and manga. And I visited Japan, and the Japanese were very friendly towards me. Instead of saying, we don't want you here, Gajin, they said, we like you, and they even invited me to eat with them at a sushi bar in Tokyo. A family did, even though I was speaking broken Japanese, and they were happy enough to have me. And I also went to Kyoto. That was fun too. I went to some Pokemon centers. I also run an eBay store where I sell a lot of hobby items like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon cards, if any of you are interested in that. I even helped a mother. I think she was helping one of her, either it was her child or her grandchild. He was trying to find some Pokemon cards, and I helped her, and she said thank you in English, which was very nice. So, I haven't been to Korea before, to South Korea, but I probably may not go um, for a while now, with everything going on over there with Johnny. He's no longer in Japan, thankfully enough, but I know my mom went there recently, and she really liked South Korea, which I'm glad about. I don't know, maybe one day I'll visit there too, but I've always kind of felt a close kinship to Japan in particular. Anyways, um, but I can also kind of understand what's going on in Korea as well because, the Koreans and Japanese are very closely related to each other. And even on my ancestry, I think even though it was more closely related to the Japanese and the Koreans, it was like a razor thin margin. It was so close. Like it wasn't like if I took 0.02 steps more, it'd be Korean, but it seems like Japanese just that really small percentage just made me more related to them than the Koreans. Regardless, of, whether, connect with Korean, Japanese, or even Chinese, or any other East Asian or Southeast Asian cultures. Um, the thing is like, I feel like what he started in Japan is continuing on in Korea. Like this thing about playing all these noises on his phone. And I know it's not just him. I know it's a lot of his subscribers that send him money. I think they kind of play all those noises through his phone to kind of get a reaction. And I think lately, the last couple of videos I've seen of him, I watch a couple of YouTubers like 15 Minutes of Shame and all that. I noticed he's starting to say, hey, you know, we shouldn't be playing these noises on the bus in Korea, which I think he's slowly getting better a little bit. He's still saying Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Korea though, which I'm not personally a big fan of, because I know what he's trying to entail or trying to say, but because the thing is, it was a very traumatic experience for the Japanese. Um, and the thing is that even though, like for example, my great grandmother Lita wasn't necessarily born in Japan, the lady, Japanese elder Taeko Shitama, who went to Japan when after the bomb dropped, or thankfully she wasn't in harm's way, but she almost looked, I wouldn't say identical to my great grandmother Lita, but very similar, like 70%. And they also both had the same smile. And so the thing is that um, we have to kind of, or you don't have to, but it's good to be aware of when you do things like that, or when you try to say things like that under the facade of, oh, I can do whatever I want because I'm an American citizen. That's not how it works, at least not in my opinion. Um, and I think really he's probably going to have to learn eventually one way or the other. I'm not one of those people that kind of gloats about him being, sent to prison for 50 years and having the key thrown away or whatever. or people wanting him to pick cabbages forever in Korea, because I don't really think like that. I'm not really that kind of a person that kind of takes pleasure in seeing him um, suffer like that, I guess, is if that's the word, you know. I kind of think of the Japanese in the sense of the art of peace, because for me, like I know in Korea they have this concept of Han, which deals with a lot of their own trauma and sorrow and all that. And I think maybe even maybe Japanese, maybe they kind of express that in a different way. And I could see that a lot with my I had a um, Simishin, I think she's Simishin, I'm pretty sure, Laxkabu, medieval Pacific Northwest Japanese old friend, Scottish old friend named Jess. And when she would kind of tell some of her stories, and I read up, a bit about the Koreans and the concept of Han, it reminded me a lot of that. So even though she said she was medieval Japanese, maybe she had a bit of uh, Korean ancestry as well, potentially. And I wouldn't be surprised because of how close the two lands are. Um, but I think the thing is, we have to remember, you know, I'm gonna try to see how I can break this down. You know, I think that Korea's method of doing things, because in Japan, I think the Japanese police eventually did arrest him, and he did spend a few months in jail, and then they let him go. I think the Korean way of doing things. Again, I still don't agree with people saying he should be sent to prison for 50 years and enjoy watching him pick cabbages, because I don't think that really helps anyone. Well, I mean, at least not in my opinion. But I think there are some things that he has experienced in Korea that I think is helping him a little bit. I think the longer he's staying there, the more it's like him. It's like he's an Izanami, that he's in this loop of he wants to get out of Korea, um, but he can't, because he continues kind of being in that cycle of well, I'm gonna continue harassing the Koreans like I did the Japanese. And maybe if he went back to Japan a second time, because he's talked about that, maybe he would experience eventually the same thing as well, like he is in Korea. Um, I think he's starting to learn that he can't really keep doing this, because if he does, then he might be stuck in Korea potentially forever. And oh, I appreciate the like, whoever left it. No, it means a lot. And again, I'm not the kind of person that wants him to be stuck in there forever. Because again, I'm not like some of the other people who, I don't know why they get so giddy about him getting punished, and it's like they're like a they're like chomping at the bit. Again, I'm not like that. If he, and I don't know, maybe that's just the Japanese in me speaking. Because I don't know if the Koreans look at it differently. I think even the Koreans, though, like when he was, there was two Korean girls that were reacting to him getting beat up by a Korean guy, and at first, one of them was kind of smiling, but the other one was like, "Well, this isn't so good." Um, so yeah, I just kind of think of it as, if he's willing to change, like if he, I know that might be, it might be a long shot, because again, we all walk our own path. But if he's really genuinely earnest about really wanting to change, and I think he slowly is, slowly. Um, it's like Kabuto, like after like maybe I don't know how many times he went through that loop, but maybe after like the 17,000th time, he was like, okay, I want to change. And again, we shouldn't force people to change, because I'm not, yeah, I think even Kabuto, I mean Itachi said that when speaking to Sasuke. And Sasuke, Sasuke reminds me a lot of my old friend Jess. well, when I mean old friend, I'm not saying, like old in age, just kind of like like someone I knew a while back. So maybe another term I could say, a friend just a friend I knew a while back. Um, she was kind of like Sasuke, or she was kind of like, because they say the Koreans tend to be a little bit more direct than the Japanese are. Um, she, Kabuto would kind of rile Sasuke up quite a number of times, and that kind of reminds me of makes me think of what's happening in Korea. Well, for me, Itachi is kind of like like I know he's not in Japan right now, but Itachi's more like the Japanese, like more cool, calm, and a little bit more collected. Um, and I think that if Johnny can kind of understand um, that until he learns how to kind of whether it's in Korea, whether it's Japan, or even if he ever goes to China or India or whatever, um, that there has to be a level of respect that you have to have for the people that have allowed you to come into their country. And I even have, and this is why I've also have tried my best to understand a lot about the other Native American cultures as well, because at least for me, like, some of the native cultures I connect with a little bit would be like the cultures in Peru, Patagonia, the Pacific Northwest tribes, or, the tribes that also I feel like have a connection to Japan or East Asia, Northeast Asia. But I know there are other tribes as well that feel more of a connection to Hawaii, Oceania, or the Maori in New Zealand, and even some to the Middle East and whatnot. Um, but for me, or even, maybe some may also even feel connection to Greece and Troy as well, which I think would be pretty cool. But nonetheless, I think that, you just have to, because, for me, the Japanese, when I went to Japan, they were very sweet, they were very kind. Um, they liked my company, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's the Rainbow Japanese, helping them see that, being of mixed heritage is not a bad thing. Because I know right now in Japan, I don't know in Korea, but I know in Japan they're having a thing called "Make Japan Great Again," and it can become destructive if only because if you only say we only want to be Japanese ethnically and nothing else, eventually, you can become sick because, if you don't have anything new coming in, Uncle Cherokee Japanese Herman would call it like the Salt Lake that there's nothing new coming in, and the lake gets stagnant and eventually everything in the lake kind of dies off. Um, but I've spoken to Japanese about some Japanese about being Rainbow Japanese, and I think when they see me they understand it because I guess I'm a physical manifestation of like their anime or artwork, like whatever they because manga and anime sometimes characters they look very different than they look very different um um than how Japanese normally look. And I think really deep down the Japanese would like to have diversity, would like to have people that look very different or or enrich their world, enrich the color of their world, you know. Because I can see it through their artwork. I don't know if it's the same thing with the Chinese and Koreans, but I know at least with the Japanese for sure. I know that through their artwork, through their way of expressing things, it reminds me a lot of the Kaweskar of Patagonia, which I think are connected to the Japanese. Going back to the Ice Age, because they also share a similar maternal haplogroup going way back. Um, that they also believe that you know, that their fantasy is no longer a fantasy, it's become a reality, kind of like how the anime and manga, it's no longer a fantasy, it's a reality. And And so I think the thing is that we have to understand, or we don't have to, but I try to try to I don't want to say you have to, but it's good to, yes, it's good to understand that that there is a way to be Japanese, because some people will say, I'll never be Japanese. And the thing is, you can be Japanese, but you can also be in addition to, like my Uncle Cherokee Japanese Herman would say. Like for me, even though I'm not 100% Japanese, or even if I'm not 100% Celtic per se, I am a large amount Celtic, but it's not the only part of me either. Um, you know, uh, you can enrich the Japanese and also yourself by saying, I may not be 100% Japanese, or even to the Koreans, I'm not 100% Korean, or even Chinese if you want to, I'm not 100% Chinese, but it is part of who I am. It's part of, or even 100% Native American or Japanese Native American, however you want to say it. Um, but it is part of me, and it only adds. It doesn't take away. It adds. It's you can have a person that's 100% Japanese. You could have a person that's 50% Japanese. You could have a person 25%, 12.5, 6.25, and it makes me think a lot of the like the stacking dolls in Japan. That they actually originated in Japan originally before they went to Russia, or what is modern day Russia. But you can see the dolls keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. But it's still, part of that doll is still there. And so, um, so what can someone like Johnny do? Because every time people try to say, hey, you should be a bit more respectful to the Japanese Koreans. His argument is, well, you're just saying that because I'm a person of black African descent, or he'll try to say that. But the thing is, there are people of black African descent as well in Japan that have also been a healing in addition to part of like the Japanese culture. Like I love this YouTuber named Jason, or I think that's his name. Uh, I know he's done videos like people question if he's Japanese or not. Um, but he's done videos of him, spending time with the other Japanese and kind of yeah, I know there's it's a little bit derogatory there, but he's kind of spent time with I'm gonna try to find the words to describe it, like other Japanese, and just kind of whether inviting them to parties or inviting them to hang out. I'll see if I can, or just kind of helping them open up in a good way. I think it's like a video, like an image of this. You can see both him and the other Japanese person are very happy, and that they're getting along, and I think that's how it should be. So now I know Johnny. He says, I don't know if he says he's Nigerian. I think he says he was Ethiopian, Somalian, or whatever. But the thing is, they're, him saying, it's because I'm black African, it doesn't really, it's not really a good argument, because there are, people of black African descent. I know that, there's some differences between parts of West Africa, East Africa, and even North and South. And, I know, not every black African, regardless of where they're from, are the same. But, just to kind of just do a baseline, you don't like me because I'm black African, or I'm of black African descent. It's not really a good argument, at least not in my opinion. And I think even in Korea, there are some, um, and it's more than just Nigeria. I'm sure there's plenty of other countries too. Where there has been a positive influence, of people of this ethnicity, or of this descent. And with me being Raibu, uh, you know, not only Rainbow Japanese, but Celtic healer plus rainbow or rainbow or arcoides. Arcoides is Spanish for rainbow, or Edis is the Greek word for rainbow as well. Mycenaean Greek Trojan. Or Akero means angel or messenger in Mycenaean Greek and Trojan. That's the origin for the word angel. Or in Japanese, Akero means open. Like opening, I guess maybe like a door, a gift box, however you want to say it. Um, you know, I think what it is, um, because I do have some ancestry too, also like a wee bit connected to like ancient Egypt as well. Um, and so I think the thing, and also maybe even indigenous North African Amazigh, who've lived there for thousands of years as well. Um, who are, they're a little bit different than Black Africans. But the thing about it is that I think um, there is a way to heal. There is a way to come together. For me, I'm almost related to everyone in a way. Whether I have a tiny bit from Africa, North Africa, or Egyptian and Amazigh, and of course Japanese, Native Japanese American, Celtic healer, Celtic, Norse, even a little bit of Roman, Bell-beaker, I guess, as well. Um, Aurelian, Germanic, all these different cultures. And the Japanese, they didn't say, you're too mixed, we want you to go back home. We never want you to come to Japan again. No, they didn't say that. They said, hey, we want to invite you to eat with us. We want you to spend time with us. We want to learn about you. And so this thing about you know, they don't like me because because I'm not ethnically Japanese or 100% ethnically Japanese or 100% ethnically Korean or whatever. I think that's not really a good argument. Now, in my opinion, the way I look at it is, I'm gonna try so I can describe it. I um I think the thing is you can go to a place like Japan and Korea without trying to um what's the word? Um, Like there's a way you can go there without saying you have to do everything by my rules now. Because I think that's kind of like what he was trying to do in Japan and Korea, like in using the facade, because I'm an American, we quote unquote run your country, and I can tell you to do whatever I want because I'm an American citizen. That's not really a healthy way to get the locals to to want to be kind and considerate to you. It's like if you did that. Like it's imagine if you went to like the Cherokee or to the Lakota or Cheyenne or Tlingit, and you tell them that, that you don't be surprised if you're on a spear the next day. you know? Or like if you tried to do that in Ireland or Norway or wherever, if you try to say, since I'm an American citizen, I can do whatever I want. Yeah, no, that's not really a healthy way um to bring people together. At least in my opinion. So anyways, I think eventually he's gonna learn. Hopefully, he'll learn sooner rather than later. In a way that, instead of people chomping on the bit, and I don't know why there's so many people that want him to be in prison for hundreds of years or 50 years, whatever. And I also don't know why they're chomping on the bit for him to pick cabbage. In particular, to me, I don't really really think take too much stock in it myself. I just hope that eventually, if he can kind of, I think slowly he's changing slowly. It's still going to take time though, but I think eventually he will kind of get out of that. Hopefully. Again, it's not my decision, it's his decision, and I guess it's also with the Koreans, at least, for however long he stays in Korea, how they work it out, or if he ever wants to go back to Japan or China or whatever, um, I just hope that he eventually he gets better and not worse. Because I know some people want him to get worse. They want him to go to the lowest pits of agony, but that's not how I look at it. I would actually prefer him I guess maybe that's the art of peace, there's a quote from Morihei Ueshiba, talking about this is because the art of peace actually originated in Japan, um, and it says here the true meaning of the samurai is one who serves and adheres to the power of love. And Morihei Ueshiba reminds me a lot of a lot of Tate Pedro Cruz, who's a quote unquote a Mayan Native American elder, but he probably has some Native Japanese American ancestry himself. And he had a message very similar to Morihei Ueshiba. Yeah, I'll see if I can find him. He looks very similar to him too, actually, and that's why I'm saying they probably have a shared ancestry. Him and Morihei Ueshiba. Yes. Um, I'm going to see. Yeah, so you can see the elder here, who I believe is at least a native Japanese American, or at least has shared ancestry. And then you can see Morihei as well. Um, to me, they look very similar, especially here. Something like yeah, they they both kind of have like just a similar aura about them, like as if they have shared ancestors. At least in my opinion. Um, and then Pedro Tate Cruz would say something like, "In everything you do, always love." Something very similar to Morihei Ueshiba. Uh, so yeah, and of course, some of the natives have been here including Native Japanese Americans, have been here for thousands of years, some even tens of thousands, and they go back a long time into history. Um, so yeah, I hope he gets better, not only for himself or not only for himself but also for like the Koreans and other Japanese and other people around him. That's how I look at it. Um, for those and also when I think of the art of peace, I also think of the art of war as well, and I kind of connect with that as well, like Master Roshi, like from Master Roshi. We must master the art of peace in addition to the art of war. Um, and so that's of course, learning to stand up for yourself would be the connection to the art of war, but the art of peace would also be even though you stand up for yourself, you also help other people, when they're down, or instead of trying to kick someone endlessly when they're down forever, you eventually say, "Hey, I want to help you. Um, I want to help you do better, or I want to help you to find another path." And so that's something that I hope he finds eventually. Again, we each walk our own path, so that's the thing. It's like Kabuto. Like until Kabuto himself was able to break out of Izanami, he had to keep going through the same thing until he learned. And eventually he did learn. He got better. Um, uh, and it's not like you want to force people to go through those experiences because even Kabuto said that he didn't want to control Sasuke with I think it's with one of his genjutsus, I believe. Koto Matsukami or something like that. Yeah, like he wanted Sasuke to have his own free will. And I think, people should understand that as well. At the end of the day, we should be allowed to make our own decisions. But that is something that I think he's going through right now, that similar experience that Kabuto kind of went through. Um, so yeah, hopefully things get better. Hopefully things change. We'll see if they do. But yeah, just figured that would be uh, a good video to do. Anyways, hope you guys take care and bye for now.